It was supposed to be just another quiet afternoon until everything turned into chaos. Sirens were wailing down the street, neighbors were out on their porches, and someone's life was hanging by a thread. But then she stepped in. You've probably heard of an HOA Karen, but this one took things to a whole new level. As the ambulance raced toward a critical emergency, she stood firm in the middle of the road, arms crossed, refusing to move because she claimed the flashing lights were disturbing the peace of her perfect neighborhood. Time was ticking, and every second counted. I watched in disbelief, then realized if no one did something fast, this could end badly. That's when I made the call, literally and figuratively. If she wouldn't let the paramedics in, I'd bring the help in another way. And yeah, it got a little crazy. The sound of spinning blades filled the air as I redirected a rescue helicopter straight into the heart of suburbia, right onto her pristine front lawn. She looked up, stunned, as grass and garden gnomes went flying. But I wasn't there to argue. I was there to save a life. And just when I thought it was over, something else happened that no one saw coming. You're going to want to hear what went down next. Let me back up a little so you understand how wild this really was. The person needing help was my neighbor, Mr. Thompson, a retired firefighter of all things. He collapsed suddenly in his backyard, and his wife was in full panic mode. I called 911, and within minutes, we heard the ambulance coming down the street. But then came Karen. Now, I don't usually call people out like this, but this woman had a history. Ever since she got voted into the HOA board, it's like the power went straight to her head. She's the type who'll write you up for a trash bin being out 5 minutes too long or threaten fines for unauthorized wind chimes. So when she saw the ambulance coming toward our cul-de-sac, she rushed out yelling something about HOA regulations and vehicle size restrictions. I couldn't believe it. Paramedics were honking, trying to get through, and she just stood there like she owned the road. Mr. Thompson was still lying unconscious, and we were wasting precious time arguing with someone who clearly didn't care. That's when I remembered my cousin flies emergency rescue helicopters for the county. It was a long shot, but I made the call. As soon as I said the address, he didn't even hesitate. And what happened next? Yeah, Karen definitely wasn't ready for it. As the helicopter blades sliced through the air, the neighborhood was suddenly a whirlwind of dust and noise. People peeked out of their windows, some cheering, others just staring, completely stunned. Karen, though, looked like she was about to have a heart attack, her perfect lawn now a mess of flattened grass and scattered flowers. You could tell this wasn't just about the ambulance or HOA rules anymore. It felt like a battle between compassion and control. Meanwhile, the paramedics were finally able to rush to Mr. Thompson's side as the helicopter landed right beside the house. I could see the tension in their faces. They knew every second mattered. But Karen wasn't backing down. She started demanding to see permits for the helicopter, yelling that this was completely unnecessary and a violation of community standards. It was like she cared more about appearances than a man's life. At the same time, whispers started spreading around the neighborhood. Some folks were siding with Karen, worried about property values and noise, while others were rallying behind us, saying this was a case of common sense and human decency. It was turning into a full-blown neighborhood drama, and no one really knew what would come next. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get more intense, a new player showed up, someone whose involvement could change everything. What happened after that caught everyone off guard. Just when the dust was settling, the unexpected arrival sent shockwaves through the whole street. Out of nowhere, the HOA president herself showed up, stepping right into the middle of the chaos. She wasn't someone anyone wanted to mess with, calm, composed, but with an iron fist behind that polite smile. I could tell she'd heard about Karen's stunt and wasn't thrilled. The tension skyrocketed as neighbors held their breath, wondering if she'd bat Karen or finally bring some sense to the madness. The paramedics were working fast, but the argument between Karen and the helicopter crew was turning into a standoff. Karen was shouting about rules and bylaws, waving a stack of papers like she was ready to take this to court. Meanwhile, The helicopter pilot, my cousin, was trying to keep things steady, focused on the urgent medical situation, but clearly frustrated. Everyone was watching, waiting to see who would blink first. Adding to the pressure, Mr. Thompson's condition suddenly took a turn. The urgency in the paramedics' voices grew as they prepped for immediate transport, but Karen's refusal to move her car from the driveway blocked the ambulance's exit. It felt like time itself was running out, and the neighborhood's fragile peace was on the verge of breaking completely. With emotions running high and the stakes higher than ever, it was clear this moment would decide more than just one emergency. It could change everything about how this community dealt with crisis from now on. And then, just when it seemed like it couldn't get worse, something happened that nobody saw coming. Just as everyone thought the situation couldn't get any more intense, a loud crash echoed from the side street. A delivery truck, caught in the confusion and trying to navigate the tight neighborhood, had accidentally slammed into one of the HOA's decorative fences. The driver was shaken but unharmed, yet the noise instantly drew more neighbors outside, turning the quiet cul-de-sac into a scene of utter chaos. Karen's eyes widened. Not only was her lawn ruined, but now there was property damage right in front of everyone. The HOA president's calm facade cracked for the first time. She rushed over to assess the damage, muttering about liability and insurance claims, clearly torn between handling the emergency and managing the fallout of the truck crash. Meanwhile, the paramedics were still stuck, struggling to get the stretcher through the narrow driveway with Karen's car still blocking the way. Time was slipping through our fingers, and Mr. Thompson's condition wasn't improving. Then, out of nowhere, Karen pulled her phone and started live streaming the entire event, claiming the helicopter landing and ambulance access were reckless and unlawful. Suddenly, the story wasn't just about saving a life. It was turning into a viral neighborhood drama, with neighbors divided and social media watching every move. With tempers flaring and tension rising, the community's darkest fears about control, chaos, and compassion collided in one explosive moment. What happened next would either make or break this neighborhood forever, and no one was prepared for it. As the live stream kept rolling and the neighborhood watched in real time, something shifted. The HOA president, seeing the overwhelming support for Mr. Thompson and the emergency response, finally stepped in with authority. She told Karen to move her car immediately or face serious consequences, and surprisingly, Karen hesitated only a moment before reluctantly backing up. The ambulance crew wasted no time getting the stretcher through the driveway, rushing Mr. Thompson into the vehicle. The helicopter's rotor blades kicked up dust once again, ready for the urgent transport to the hospital. Just when it seemed the crisis was finally under control, the unexpected happened. The emergency pilot radioed back. Due to the crash blocking part of the street, the helicopter couldn't take off from the lawn safely. That meant they had to make a split-second decision: either risk a dangerous takeoff in the tight space or a route to a farther landing zone, costing precious minutes. My heart was pounding as the pilot chose the first option, skillfully navigating the helicopter up and away in a perfect liftoff, leaving a trail of dust and stunned neighbors behind. But the story didn't end there. As the dust settled, Karen turned off her live stream and approached quietly, her usual bravado replaced by something almost like regret. Then, in a surprising twist, she quietly apologized, not just to me, but to the entire neighborhood. It wasn't the end of the drama, but for the first time, it felt like the community might actually come together, learning that sometimes saving a life means putting rules aside. After the helicopter disappeared into the sky, a quiet calm finally settled over the neighborhood. Mr. Thompson was rushed to the hospital, where he later made a full recovery, thanks to the quick actions of everyone involved. The tension that had gripped the street slowly began to ease as neighbors started talking, not about HOA rules or property damage, but about how important it was to come together in emergencies. Karen's apology surprised many, but it was a reminder that even the toughest people can change when faced with real human moments. The HOA president also promised to review their emergency policies to prevent something like this from ever happening again. The delivery truck's fence damage was quickly repaired, and the neighborhood buzzed with stories about the day the helicopter landed on Karen's lawn. Looking back, the whole situation showed how sometimes rules and regulations can clash with the urgent need to help one another. Emergencies don't wait for permission slips or permits. They demand action, compassion, and teamwork.